I'm just about done setting up here for op number 3, and we'll just run through a couple things. I haven't shown the adjustments for stroke control of how far in it will go. This is like a depth stop. There's one screw over here for each position on the turret. So this is op 3, starting with the little handle parts. The finished part is going to look like this. We'll get a little closer here. And it has a hole in this end. Hole, there's a chamfer, turn diameters, threaded 5/16 24, and radius on the end. So there's a lot of stuff to this little part here. This is only 1 5/8 or a little less than 1 5/8 long. So what I'm gonna do is start on. We'll do all the process from this end first. So we'll be holding down in here. Obviously, we're gonna drill it. We'll chamfer it with just a file. We'll be turning this down to diameter, and then we're going to come in and thread it. And then we'll pull it out and part it off. Then the second op will be turning it around, putting it back in the lathe this way, and turning this down in radius. So what I'm doing here is we're going to, over here we got the parting tool, we're going to part off the part here on the vertical parting tool. Give it turned here. Then we have a stop. We'll part it after it's parted off. So we'll then extend it to this stop here. Now what's critical about this stop, the first stop, is that we must come out far enough for the threading die head. This is a geometric 9/16 D die head. So it clears the parting tool, the handle here, and everything's got to clear the parting tool, so it can't go too far. So we got to make sure you come out far enough, which makes it a little more flimsy for the turning, because we're going to turn that in one shot. Then I got a spotting drill. We're going to spot it. Then we're going to come around and we're going to drill the 1/8" hole, which is pretty basic, right? And then we have a turning tool this time. Now this is a box tool. This is it's all basically well, it's identical to this one right here. This tool here, 3/8 tool bit is perfect for this tool because of height. Now this one here, the one that's in there doesn't have screws on the bottom. Somebody might have added those so you don't have to shim it. I ended up putting a 10,000 shim in here, so it's on center. This is adjustable on the end, has a dovetail, so it slides in and out, so you can micro adjust it. And this is a gib adjustments and a lock. So you put your tool in. You put your tool in here, obviously. Get the height set for on center, and then you can adjust it in to get your diameter. This is called a knee tool. This is an adjustable knee tool, but the one that's in here is identical to this one. See, this one's actually a Hardinge. This is a T3 5/8 shank. What's a T3? These are, you got to have one or two of these. These are pretty handy tool. Now this one here, it had a 3/4 shank on it, and I made a new back or a mount for it, so it's 5/8, so it fits in this lathe. The other lathe has 3/4 in the turret, so I can just swap this. But that's what I made this mount. With the turret, lathe, you will end up making a lot of parts, or a lot of tooling. Let me put it that way. It seems like you hardly ever get the right one that works always for you. So then we adjust. I still have to adjust this one here, I think. Yep. So now I've already, see what I did is I already turned this, and then I'm going to come in here and adjust it. Now I like to use an electric drill with a hex on the end for, you know, these are long screws. Now I found that the screws were in here really needed to be about a 1/2 inch longer so you could use the full stroke of the turret. So I put new screws in, 4-inch screws in to get the full optimization of the turret. And you just get that, and then it has a little locking screw. Now this is always painted. They're on the bottom, and you can just barely snug it. It's just for vibration, so it doesn't change. Then we're going to come around to the die head. Now the die head's open right now, so I can see. I want to go right up to about there. And we'll just fine tune it in. I'm having to reach with the camera in the way, but anyway, we'll snug that. Now, this, you can see that, just so you see here, as this comes out, my swivel point is coming up, and it's right there, and this wants to, well, I just kind of screwed it up, but here. You're going to go in all the way, and then when you come back, when that goes to swing, it has to be able to clear your part. So I'm right kind of at the limit of, I only have, I can just get my finger, about 3/8 of an inch clearance on my part. This has a really long shank on it, and I might cut it down. You can only go in here about 1.5 inches. So I might cut this down a little bit. It doesn't really need to be so long, but I barely have enough room there. So you know, very important. It's all about clearances. Now, I've been figuring out everything. It's taken me a couple hours to figure out the process, how I want to do this, in what order, what I needed to do. I really wanted to run 2 turning tools. But then I run into pulling my stock out and getting it positioned. So the first stop is to do all this so I have minimum stick out, right? To do all the machining. Then the second stop that we'll do will come out right to there. And that's to part it off, because we need stock here to finish making this part. So then we'll come down and cut this off. Now that's really long right there. I haven't adjusted that yet, but that's why I needed another stop in here, because we have two operations of bringing the part outward. So I've got this all set for 1 turn, which is brass, is fine. Stainless is a little tougher, but I can still do it in the stainless. So I'll finish getting this going, finish setting the depths, and we'll be ready to roll here and bring it back. All right, I changed what I just showed you a little bit. I went back to 1 stop, spotting, hole, and this turning tool is going to be a rougher, and then the thread, and then a finishing tool. Here, I got rid of this stop because I was able to adjust things so that I only need to extend this once. I can do it all if I just extend it right off the bat where it needs to be parted. And I have enough room to put enough thread on there and clear the die head, just enough. So we'll just do it in one extension, which saves some time. About getting things accurate. You're either going to waste some parts or some scrap. I just use a piece of scrap. You know, in this case, I'll use brass because it's easy to work with. And you know, once you get this, you know, figured out somewhat, and then you start adjusting things, right? And I got the distance. This is where I want to part it. Okay. Well, the biggest determining tool here in this operation is, let's see if I can do this, is the die head, because I needed to clear this and I need to get enough threads on here. So in this case, and it sticks out a lot, so that was the determining tool. So I set that one first, actually, after the stop, of course. I'm sorry, the stop was the first thing I set, and then I set this. And then this just clears coming off of there, 1/8 of an inch or so. So now I should be able to get everything else to work, right? So this is easy. The spotting drill, I just got to make a little you know, divot in there, and so that's easy just to adjust. And I just drill it in until that's what I want, and set the screw. This is a little different. This I want within a plus or minus 10 thousandths, the depth of this hole. So I'll set it shy. I have the drill sticking out just a little bit more than I need, about 3/16 of an inch more than I need. So I put a little mark on there, and I drill it in until that mark. I set my stop, and then what I'll do is I'll pull back, and I'll check my depth. Now in this case, it's a small hole, so I'll stick this. This is the carbide blank that goes in there and has a sharp point, so it goes right to the bottom of the hole. I stick it in, I mark it with a Sharpie, and measure it. Now I get really close this way, and then, like I said, this is a piece of scrap. This is not a part. So when I do take it out, then I'll do an accurate measurement. I know exactly how long this is. I measure this. And this is 3" 40 thousandths, and so I can stick it in the hole, and I just measure how much sticks out, and then I adjust it until I get my hole exactly what I need it to be. This is a roughing operation, turning operation, and it's all adjustable, as I showed, and I just set the depth. So I set it shy, I make a cut, I measure it, and then I adjust it accordingly. Now these screws are 1/4 28ths on the adjusting screws, so it's a 37 thousandths roughly per turn, and so I can gauge roughly how much I need to do. Now this is a plus or minus 10 thousandths kind of thing on this dimension, so it's pretty easy to dial in, and the diameter just needs to be less than the 5/16, and within about 20 thousandths or so of the final diameter. Then the thread, I've already set the depth of the thread, or how far down the stock I'm going to go. And then the finishing turning operation, where now it cuts partial threads here in the beginning because I don't turn it down all the way, and then I turn off those threads down to the final dimension. And it's a finishing pass. And then we're back to here, or then we part it off, and then we extend it, and we're all over again. So let's run through let's run through a couple. We'll extend it out, set our depth. I gotta be careful how much I extract this. It's so close to wanting to turn that I have to be careful on my extraction here as far as clearing the chip turns. Now cuts on the backstroke also. I have a nice radius on that tool, so it kind of does a little cleanup. Cock my die head. Boom, done. Then I come in for my finishing pass. Now it's kind of all over the place because it's cutting through thread. And then I can back up, and that's a nice finishing pass there. I got a real big radius on this tool. And I go kind of slow. Then I just do a little chamfer on the end. I take some 320 and I hit it while it's right here, just to clean it up a little bit, just any burrs. And I like to knock the sharpness off those threads. They're razor sharp. There we go. And we have our part. Like I say, checking the depth of this hole here, I know exactly how long this carbide is, and stick it in, and I just measure that length. And I, double checked all this stuff. Now, as I'm making parts, every 10, 15, somewhere in there, I just stop and I take one, and I do some quick measurements just to make sure nothing's changed. So I'm making the right parts. Real time. We're over here on the Logan lathe, and I have the turret here set up and the cross slide set up. The turret, I got the turret piece or the attachment with the lathe when I got the lathe. This is what I usually have been making the Scribes with, is this turret set up. But what I decided to do is I'm still working on the parts, on the stainless parts, on the Hardinge Scribe parts, and that machine handles the stainless way better than this machine does. So I decided to start doing the coppers and the brasses and first over here, while I can still work the stainless setup over there, and to finish up these pieces here, the top pieces. So we did all this part on the Hardinge, this setup, and now we're just finishing them off. So we have a 1/4 inch collet in here, and we pop, and I like using this because these is 5C collets over here, and I have a depth stop in the collet in the chuck, so they all reference off the end with the hole. As far as their length goes, everything's referenced off that end. And this way I can just pop it in there. I have my cross slide set up with a facing tool to clean it up and bring it to length. And then we have over here, now Devin had restrictions of clearance issues here, and that's why the tools are turned at an angle. This one here is turned up at an angle. They're still on center line, and so it doesn't really matter where they are. They don't have to be level on the side or anything. So I have this one set up on the top, and this is it's the finished one right there. And what we're going to do is it's in there like this. We're going to turn this in one cut, and then we're going to radius the end, and then I clean it up, and it's done. We'll run a couple of them. Okay, pretty simple. So we come in here with the cross slide, and we're going to come in and do this in one cut. The copper's really soft, so this is a pretty easy operation. Then I go in here and I just touch up the end, give it a little shape the way I'd rather like to see it. It's close. It just leaves a couple lines in it and finishes up. A little buff on it. And that's it. Then I just kind of polish that end up. It gets a little scratched in there, but I just polish it up. And then it's, now this body's not finished yet, but then I fit it to a body, and it will stay with this body for its life, hopefully, right? And make sure everything goes together right. There's some burrs sometimes on the end of the threads and things like that, so you got to clean it up a little bit. But all ready, and then I'll put a 3/8 collet in this lathe, and I have a little holder I thread this onto, and then I clean this up, and then we do a little polish and fit the carbide, and then engrave. A lot of steps there to go, but comes out pretty good. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a picture of the first one. I already want to send it out. Yeah, I want to get some of these done, on these orders sent out, so I think I'm all caught up. I think I sent the last one today. Today's Friday. So we're going to just build up some stock now, and hopefully guys out there will be buying a Scribe. These copper ones are coming out really nice, so really nice. But this is a really pretty simple setup. We'll get you a little closer and you can see the tooling a little better. Coming in with the cross slide. I'll punch that, clean that off. This is a fairly good size radius on this tool here. Fairly good size radius, so it kept it really nice. It doesn't wiper pass, and that all comes out really good. Go right on down. There's a little wiper pass, take it off, maybe 5 thousandths. Nice finish. Now this has a radius at the end of this for the end. Just coming gentle. Yeah. Pretty simple. This is actually pretty fast, so we'll zip through all these. Scotch-Brite burnishes look pretty good and really smooths it up. There we go. And then I just hand buff that up real quick. It just gets a few scratches in it, but hopefully that comes out, huh?